Thank you so much for joining me for Season 3 of On the Road With. For those of you that are new to the show, this show is all about talking to touring professionals in the entertainment and performing arts industries about realities of life on the road, their mental health, people they've worked with, and I'd like to thank you sincerely for your support for the show so far. If you're enjoying what you're hearing, you can follow me on social media. It's on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. It's Gareth John Music. If you could also like, follow and subscribe wherever you get your podcast fix. And if you'd leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, that would be extra appreciated. It really does help spread the podcast far and wide. Now, my guest this week is a little bit different. It's the first crew member I've talked to. It's Mr. Matthew Jones, and he's worked with all sorts of people. His main job is with the Pixies, but he's also worked with Radiohead, Bjork, James Brown, Dionne Warwick, Joy Division, Orchestrated, Lionel Richie, Sister Sledge, Katherine Jenkins, Will Young. The list is absolutely endless. So he's got some great stories to tell, some interesting thoughts on how the industry might look going forward, and much, much more. So I hope you enjoy it as much as I did recording it. So I'm joined by Matt Jones. Matt, thank you very much for joining me.
Total pleasure.
So one thing I want to kind of start with then is just basically talking about the most recent times. A lot of interviewers start with kind of, how did your journey start and all that, and we'll get to all that later. But I want to just talk about the recent, I guess, since March. It's quite obvious what us musicians have been doing during lockdown. We've been doing collaborations, doing videos, we've been writing, but it's a good recording time. I know I've got a lot done in that department, but for you crew guys, how do you occupy your days?
Well, I was having a good think about this earlier on, and it's been 7 months now, and at the start it was actually quite exciting. I've had a busy 5 years, and I've been pretty much away for most of the year each year, and to have a couple of months at home was actually might be quite nice, even though the actual situation was really bad. But then as you obviously get into lockdown, you suddenly realise, all of my work has suddenly gone, and I've got no income for the rest of the year. It just sort of it changes its focus, and then you went through different stages of I learned some things. I learned a bit of CAD design, some 3D drawing. I learned a bit more about radio mics, and then after 4 to 5 months, you're thinking, "Oh, I'm a bit sick of that now. I just want to go and live somewhere." So the last couple of months, it's been 1 week. It's been nice. We've had a nice time. Next week, it's like, oh, is it ever going to start again? I'm a bit sad this week, and every week it changes depending on things that happen. And we had some possible work with these Live Nation shows. Looks like it was going to happen. A few days later, it didn't happen. That one, and it was. It's just been like a roller coaster. And thankfully, I live with a really loving girlfriend that has a job as a nurse, and she's not looked after me, but we've sort of gone through up and down together because it's been pretty stressful for her at home, at work too. So
I can imagine.
But green shoots are starting to happen. I'm feeling positive. So this week is a good week. And we just heard 10 minutes ago that we've got a mortgage on the place we wanted to buy. So
brilliant. Okay.
So this week is definitely a good week.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, it's that's one thing I want to come on to later as well, is the financial side, and like that security that you get in our sort of industry. But we'll come on to that later. I guess you hit the nail on the head. It's a roller coaster, and I know in the performing community that I know, and some crew people as well, like tour manager of the South and stuff like that. When I talk to them, some weeks it's everything positive. We'll get through this, and well, actually, I've upskilled because I've learned to do this, and and I've caught up with so and so. I didn't speak to them for months. I've got some time with the kids. I've got some time with family, and then other weeks you speak to them and they're really bored and down. And I guess it's because, it's a different kind of buzz for you. And again, there's another thing we'll cover later on, is that buzz of performing. In my case, performing live. In your case, doing live sound. There's nothing really that replaces that. Like, you can do all the again, in my case, you can do all the live streams you want, you can do all the Zoom teaching that you want, but there's nothing like teaching somebody in person, or there's nothing like performing in front of an audience. Can you explain that buzz that you get when you're out on tour doing your job?
it's really all I've ever known. I've done this for 27 years since I left university. I've never had a proper job since, not that it's not a proper job, but I haven't had a proper job since I was stacking shelves in Asda at my dad's supermarket. So it's all I've ever known. There is nothing like it. For someone that hasn't toured before, it's difficult to understand that you're with the same people for months on end in a confined space. It's a really different experience than anything else I think you could think of.
Yeah, and obviously you had that experience right before the lockdown, didn't you? Because you were on tour in Australia and New Zealand with Pixies.
Yes, I was. We were due to go to China, Japan, Hong Kong. Obviously, they'd gone away, and then we'd done New Zealand, which was fantastic. The Spark Arena there, and then we'd done two places in Australia. I don't remember the order. We went to Melbourne and we went to Brisbane, and then we had a nice day off in Brisbane, sitting in the sun, looking forward to the next few days, and then go to bed, get a phone call at 4 a.m. We're going home, and the show's been postponed. All the shows have been postponed for the next 2 weeks, and at 9 o'clock we're on the way to the airport 5 hours later, and after having to get all of our unpacking the whole truck to find our toolkits to take them home. It was a big shock. We'd because we were touring, you're sort of out of the news bubble. You're following it, and I'm listening to Jill, my girlfriend. She's saying, "Well, actually, maybe it's a bit more serious than flu." Because when it all started, everyone's like, "Oh, it's just flu. It's nothing serious about it. What's everyone worrying about?" But it was just at that point where everyone was realizing that this is a bit more than this, and this is going to be pretty serious. Let's get home. And obviously, touring with American band as well, they're about to shut down the flights to America, so that obviously all the band were keen to get home to see their families as well.
And how did you mentioned that it leads quite nicely on with them being an American band? How did you a guy from Manchester? I saw him on your videos. You moved around a lot, but essentially a Northern English guy. How did you end up touring as part of a crew with an American band? Because you'd think they would use American crews, wouldn't you?
You would, and when they reformed in 2004, they had an English front. They've always had an English front of house guy, Ray, and
But obviously he's the guy who sort of set this up, isn't he? Because of the link with the Beautiful South. Yeah,
I freelanced for a Manchester company called Wigham Acoustics, and they had got the European tour dates for this, and they asked me to look after the American monitor guy, Ben, and I did the European shows, and sadly Ben had stopped touring because after that tour because he had Crohn's disease, and it was just a bit difficult to control that and be away. So they were looking for a new monitor person. Ray recommended me, and I got the job. I think they were doing many shows in Europe as they were in America, so I don't think it really mattered where you came from. And throughout the years, more UK people have been involved, not deliberately, just because management changed as well. So it was Richard Jones from Manchester. So it was those people. Simon Foster took over doing production manager. So it was all sort of Northwest people that were doing this side of it. And then when Ray sort of semi-retired and Miles took over, there was an American back in it as well. So there's no reason. It's just how it's turned out. They've liked someone, they've employed someone.
Well, that tends to be. You mentioned about the geographical nature of it there, with a lot of you being Northwest guys. We've found that that's happened with the South now. That it's predominantly a Leicester-based band. The musicians are Leicester-based, but also the crew come from Leicester as well. Just because Gaz is running it, Gaz Birtles, and then it's easier for him to liaise with people, and they can keep all the equipment in Leicester. They've got the lockup, they can go down, and rehearsals can all be in one place, and the majority of the band, it's not too difficult for them to get to, and all that kind of stuff. So I guess logistics play a little part. If you've got one side of your operation that's all based in a similar place, similar region of one country, then it's going to make things easier, isn't it?
Totally, and it really helps having the front of house guy Miles now. He lives in LA, which is where the band keeps their gear. So that works well as well. Every time something he's doing, he can go and do that for them as well. Yeah.
And for you, I didn't realise until reading Was it one? I think I read it was on one of the articles. Oh no, it was on the YouTube video he did for Yamaha. It was actually a bit of a dream come true, really, working with Pixies, because you're a big fan of the band.
When I was a lad, I used to just sit in bed listening to John Peel of an evening, and all the 4 AD bands were absolutely loved, and so by coincidence, working with them 10, 15 years later, well, yeah, it was a dream come true. It was excellent, and it's still really enjoyable now, 14 years later.
And what I liked about your CV was that you've got this consistent employer with Pixies, and you're very much part of the furniture there. But you've also done like the odd wow thing with other people. You've got Radiohead on there, Dionne Warwick, and the one that I've got to ask you about, because he's my number one hero, is James Brown. Tell us about that in Monaco. That sounded as cool as it gets.
Where I first ever worked, a company in Helsby near Chester, I met a guy called Simon, who's one of my best friends now, and he ran a company called, with his wife Anita, called the Incredible Event Company, and they did a lot of technical production on the Grand Prix Bulls. So at Silverstone and Monaco, it was mainly those two really. And each year, the Monaco one, we'd just go over, we'd do some pre-production beforehand, liaise with the local sound people, whatever bands they booked, make sure that the English client was happy with the local production, on the day as well, make sure that the Grand Prix Ball went smoothly. So this year, which I was really excited about, they had I had no idea what year it was, but they had James Brown as a special act, and it was always the day before rehearsals started, the day of rehearsals, for the Grand Prix, and they hadn't brought an engineer with them. The French guys weren't being particularly helpful from an audio point of view. So, oh, sod it, I'll do it. So I'll get a sound check, and well, all the band went to watch the qualifying. So no one did a sound check. They had no backline people. It was just chaos. So, and to make it worse, the start of the show, it was on a rolling stage. So the stage, the curtain opened up, and the stage rolled forward. So I hadn't heard anything. We'd sort of got some people we knew to play some things, but so the first I saw or heard of him was when the curtains open, he rolls forward, does a 180 spin or 360 spin. Goes, wow. That was the first thing I'd seen of him, but it was and
you didn't actually meet him. Hi, I'm doing your sound tonight. None of that.
They just turned up. They came out of this curtain. That was the first time I'd heard or seen them.
Wow. And what was the lineup of the band? I'm going to indulge in this one because he's just such a big hero of mine. What was the lineup of the band? What did you have to mix for that day?
I think it was like a 16-piece band.
Yeah, I was going to say, I bet he had some ridiculous sized bands.
Yeah, I don't think they were cheap.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I bet they were a good band, though. I bet they were really on the money.
Absolutely shit hot tight. They were.
Yeah.
It was really easy to mix. Yeah, it was really easy to mix.
And
there were a lot of very jealous French engineers there in the end going, "Oh, I wish I'd said yes to doing this."
Yeah, but I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine. And you didn't get any kind of comeback, because to get it absolutely perfect with that size band on the fly like that is a hard job. You didn't get any stick afterwards for anything that wasn't quite right or anything like that. It just went smoothly.
There was a local guy doing monitors. They all seemed very happy. They just left and went to party somewhere. There was no. The biggest hassle of the day was making sure his secret boxes full of wigs made it into the taxi. I do believe they had their own seat on the plane.
Wow. And what I find with a lot of those kind of guys, I work with a few, or have worked with a few similar characters to James Brown, and a lot of them model themselves on James Brown in different fields, and and it's where I get a lot of it from. Really, the show is everything. The image, the dancing, all singing, all dancing. All the band looked right. He had awesome suits. All that kind of. He's got all the moves.
It was a magical evening there. So the show there is at the Sporting Club, and all the windows go into the floor there. So you're actually looking over onto the bay. So during the last time, what they did, they lowered the windows, and then whilst the windows were lowering, there's a firework display occurring.
Oh, wow!
So it's just unbelievable. I cannot imagine how much it must have cost.
Versus a wedge. The general wisdom I've heard talking to many sound guys is that they prefer a band to be on in ears. They're pro moving in that direction. Is that are you of that mind?
I would agree with you there. I would say that the only caveat on that would be the fact that if you were turning up somewhere where it wasn't your own mixing desk and you had to dial it all in, and you're using a console you didn't have a file for, then it's a lot more difficult.
Right. Okay.
Obviously, when you're using wedges, if the lead singer can't hear his guitar and walk towards his guitar amp and hear his guitar whilst you're trying to make it the right level, and when you've got your ears in, especially their custom molds, then you can't. If it's not in your ears, you can't hear it.
I guess there's also a health side with it within ears as well. It's one thing I was advised by various people is you've got to protect your ears if you're going to be on the road all the time. The fact that you can adjust your own volume and protect your voice as well as a singer if you're not trying to belt over the band, all that.
I feel that a lot of bands nowadays who are using clicks and tracks and stuff, they're essential. You can do that with wedges, and definitely if you're doing a long tour, it can prolong your voice as well. You don't have to. Sometimes it's not great for someone who's a weak singer because they'll just sing quieter, and the front of house guy will struggle. But it does definitely makes my job a lot easier because you can get it as loud as you want it to get compared to anything else within reason.
You said about the front of house guy struggling there. Have you ever had that stick from the audience as they're walking out and that kind of stuff? Say, "Oh, I couldn't hear this, I couldn't hear that." And I've seen sound guys tearing their hair out because they're like, "Well, he was a weak singer," or sometimes I'll be honest as well. Sometimes it's the musicians not knowing what they're doing or playing too quietly or what have you. It's not always the fault of the front of house engineer.
It is quite funny. I guess a lot of it's all subjective as well with all of this, but thankfully I'm usually at the other end of the multi-core, and it's the musician that usually gives me the stick.
Yeah, I've been that musician, I'm afraid to say.
I fully understand. I am there to make sure they can hear themselves and the other people on stage. They're the ones standing in front of 5,000, 10,000 people, and if they want to get their point across to me as fast as they can, a swear word or something thrown at me, might get my attention a lot faster than oh, can I please have a bit more higher?
Being polite.
You've just got to have a thick skin, and you've got to be able to understand. A lot of it's psychology as well. You have to understand what the person asks for before they've even asked for it. That's part of being a good monitor engineer is actually doing something or being on your way to doing it before the artist asks for it.
Right. Okay, that's interesting. And I guess
body language, the way they're looking, the way if they're playing out of time with something, you can just push something in. It's definitely there's definitely a skill that way, rather than just standing there waiting for them to tell you that the bass player can't hear the hi-hat, for example, which is another bits and bobs like that.
I've seen it when I've had a good engineer. When I was on wedges as a singer, I use in ears now, but when I was on wedges, if I start going like that with my ear when I'm straining for a note, the next time I go for that note or anything around that region, I can hear myself in the monitor, because the monitor engineers go, all right, you're struggling there, let's sort it out. And I think that you have to be really on your toes, don't you?
Yeah, totally. Especially when you're going somewhere like a festival, when there's been no rehearsal, there's been no sound check, you're just doing it on the fly, which I do quite enjoy now and again. I remember doing the Isle of Wight festival as a monitor person, house monitor person, a few years ago, and it was really enjoyable again, just doing stuff on the fly with wedges, with bands that were just turning up. It was excellent.
And with the with Pixies as well, you've got the added challenge. I didn't realise this until it was good you sent that article through, because I didn't realise you had the added challenge of, with them, they don't have a set list. They've got sort of 80 songs they could do, you know.
No, there's no set list and there's no sound check. So we've got a crew sound check. It's not too bad for me. No, I just feel more for Spenny, the guitar tech. And Duncan did it before. He needs to be like an octopus at some stages. It's like,
yeah.
The way it works is the Charles, the lead singer, has a mic at the back of the stage. He's got a button he presses and he just says, "Oh, let's do this one next." And then at that point, that's during the song before, so they're still playing the last song, right. And then they'll just go straight into the next song. And it does tend to be acoustic and electric songs together. Yeah. So there's not many guitar changes, but sometimes people can mishear.
Yeah.
There's different tunings. So poor old Spenny is there running on left, right, and centre sometimes, taking two guitars off and bringing two guitars on.
So you
ability with two hands.
So that mic, it doesn't go out to the crowd. That's literally just
goes
in
in
front of house.
Yeah.
And you can't
just in everyone's ears. So all the crew can hear it because they've got their ears as well, so they know what's happening. So no one else would know.
And the audience can't see that mic, or can they? Can they see him talking into it when he's on stage?
But generally, Miles, the lighting guy, it's all quite moody, the lighting, and not much light on the front, so you probably couldn't see him. Just like a microphone there. Yeah.
Interesting way of doing it. I think that's a good point to play your first choice, your Pixies choice. Can you explain why you chose this song? I'll drop this in.
It's just my favourite song. I like it because it's so short, but yet I can't even think of what time signature it is. It just blows my mind how they can play this in time. And they don't play it very often. When they, I can't remember what album it's on now, but we did this album, 30 years of it, and they played it. It was like, this is absolutely brilliant. And each night they nailed it. It was fantastic.
But I want to bring out a fucking very special dude. And you guys don't know his real name. I want to bring him out by his real name because you don't know it. You know him as, a lot of different names, 2 different names. But his real name, I want to bring him out, Frank Francis.
That's his real name?
There he is.
Entre las puñolas y la olas pequeñas, oh my golly, caminamos bajo la luna caribe, oh my golly, oh my golly, pensando chichando con sopa rosa, oh my golly, cosa se fue en su madera, oh my golly, rosa, oh, oh, rosa, rosa, oh, oh, rosa, Yo soy playero, pero no hay playa. Oh my God, bienvenida a la Super Rosa. Oh my God, y la vida total es un porquería, porquería. Oh my God, me he hecho menos más que vida. Oh my God, Rosa, oh, oh, Rosa, Rosa, oh, oh, Rosa, Said you fucking die! To her.
What?
I said you fucking die! To her.
Are you talking to me?
What?
Me? Are you talking to me? What are you...
Huh?
Who are you talking to?
No, I was talking to Kim.
Oh.
I said you fucking die.
Why? Because... Are you still pissed because she took the thing? Or what?
No, I didn't have anything to do with anything.
What are you
We
saying?
were just goofing around. She said, anyone touches my stuff, and I said, you fucking die. Like that.
Oh, okay.
I was finishing her part for her.
Okay, I got you.
You know what I mean? Rosa, oh, oh, Rosa, Rosa, oh, oh, Rosa, Tenacious D.
How important is equipment, or can a great sound engineer get a great sound out of shite equipment, to put it bluntly?
Interesting question, that one. I think it generally you're paying for the better sound quality, and most importantly, when you're traveling around the world and there's no way of getting a spare, is it that it works each night, and that whatever temperature it's been in the back of a truck, it's been on an airplane, that it's going to work at the next place. So I think that the high quality desks sound I think they sound pretty similar. Some desks, some people think they sound better for different bands. I think I agree with that. But I think if you're buying a mixing desk, whether it be Yamaha, who is my favourite brand, or Midas, or Digidesign, I think or Digico, they sound pretty similar. I think for majority of bands I'm doing that have guitars and stuff, I can't see them. You'd be able to notice a difference, but I think you would notice if you went down to the lower brands of Behringer and the cheaper end. I'd worry about them not functioning if they've been bounced up and down in the back of a truck or an airplane. I would, yeah.
So it's durability and reliability really are your two kind of main qualities.
I think so. There is something about having a decent microphone, because I'm making sure the input source sounds the best it possibly can, and ensuring it's in the right place as well, so it doesn't pick up another instrument. But there is a reason why the touring companies have the best equipment. It's not to make everybody rich. It's just to make it go more smooth, because we're in a high pressure environment, and if something goes wrong during a show and there's 10,000 people shouting and the promoter's got to give their money back, then you won't be very happy that you.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's kind of what I referred to earlier, really, is that there's a massively high level of accountability and responsibility that goes with your job. And I know every band's probably different. I know roughly the going rate financially for crew. Obviously, that's going to vary a little bit. And I do know crew members who've been paid silly amounts for certain shows, a bit like singers would be or musicians would be. Do you think the pay reflects the amount of responsibility that's on your head?
Sometimes, I guess every like some days you have a day that's 4 or 5 hours, and that's it. You're done. You get paid the same rate if you do a 23-hour day when you've been up at 4 a.m. to do a line check at a festival, and then you're still doing the show at 2 a.m. if you're in Spain. So it is a long day. But you know what? Doing nothing for 7 months has certainly taught me the value of money again. Considering just to pass the time, to get some income, trying to find a job, even basic pay jobs, I couldn't survive on that if I didn't have savings and a bit of furlough. So it certainly taught me the value of money, and I don't think I'll ever complain about a rate again unless it was someone offered me 20 quid to do it. I'm probably cut the hand off now. I've got a gig at a pub around the corner. Here's 20 quid. I'll be like, yep, I'll see you there.
Yeah, see you there. Yeah, because you're just desperate to get back working again. And I guess it's also I mean, money has become slightly less important to me on the few bookings I've got recently, because I'm thinking, well, my sanity is more important. I just want to be out there with a crowd, working again and having that camaraderie with the band as well.
As you're talking about rates, there is a few people up north have set up a union through lockdown, and they're affiliated with Beck2, and one of their goals is to have a standard rate and good conditions, and if someone's has an issue health and safety wise, you can go to them and get legal help. So
we're chasing payments and stuff as well. Yeah.
Having done a lot of work in America, there is a positive thing and a negative thing about unions, and there's a few very good things there, and there's a few very bad things there about unions. So, done well, I think it'd be a positive thing for our country.
It would improve, yeah, interesting. And so, looking at one of your skills that you listed on when you sent your sort of CV over. Was that is tour management? Have you done an awful lot of being a tour manager, or has that been alongside some sort of sound engineering duties?
So back in the day, I did quite a bit of tour managing stroke mix in front of house for a few bands. I got involved with a Manchester band called 9 Black Alps, if you remember them.
Yeah, I know the name. Yeah,
and. I knew their manager, and she was like, well, why don't you come and try and do this? And there was a guy already doing that, a guy called Richard Young, who's now gone on to do Pink, and other people did Radiohead for quite a while, that was doing that at the time, and he was getting too busy. He said, he'll do the pre-production, so I know what I'm doing, and he sort of taught me through that, how to tour manage, really, how to look after people, and just things like booking hotels and that sort of stuff. So I did maybe a 6 or 7 year period of doing a lot of tour managing, driving the van, mixing in front of house, selling merch, one-man band, maybe with one back.
The dog's body, basically.
That's it, yeah. I really enjoyed that. I was like, I learned so much, which has really helped me since. And I must have been maybe 25 at the time, maybe. I did 4 or 5 bands, and a few American bands would come over. And I'd look after them in the UK, and so 9 Black Alps used to. I did them for 5 or 6 years, and they would do America though, because the visa was too expensive to take them over there. But then recently I've started to do more production management. So about 4ish years ago, somebody asked me for a CV to see if I could do some production management for these Hacienda classical events. It was before it had started. It had worked out its identity yet. So it was really early days. So it was, I had to put a CV together. I went to see, Peter Hook is a guy that's behind it.
I know. I've gigged with Peter Hook, actually. Yeah.
So Hooky and a guy called Paul Fletcher were putting it together. They wanted and they just approached Wigram and Light Alternative sound and lighting companies for them to help them out. But it was just too much for sound and lighting companies to do. You needed someone from production, tour management background to come and take it over. So I got the gig, and then the last 4 years, I've just been getting involved with that from the start when we're trying to work out exactly how we're going to do this. It's basically a couple of DJs, a choir of singers, 47-piece orchestra, and some other weird instruments as well, 3 vocalists playing rave tunes. It's fabulous. It's really an enjoyable thing to be part of. Though at the start it was difficult to make it work, just to get the amount of people on stage, the venues we were doing. The loudness of the audience was just unbelievable, which is an issue. I remember the first show at Bridgewater Hall, the lady screaming in the front row was twice as loud as the sound of the violin from the violin microphone. It was just unusable. But it was 2 crazy, brilliant nights, but we learnt a lot of lessons very quickly about that.
It's quite a cool concept, that is. I think and those sort of things. Like, I know my missus went to see the garage UK Garage Orchestra in Birmingham, and she was blown away by it. And I think it's a healthy thing as well, because it's marrying that kind of club rave DJ orientated culture with live music as well. I think it's quite a good educational. Sounds a bit poncy, but it's quite a good informative thing to bring both audiences together.
When it started up, the majority of people that came to see it had never seen a classical show in their lives. And
exactly.
It was and bringing on to, so last year, Hooky sort of wrote a Joy Division orchestrated show where it was absolutely brilliant. There's only one in the UK at the Royal Albert Hall. Then we did a tour of Australia in Sydney Opera House, and it was really beautiful. It was a really, I would say, one of the high points of my career, being assisting design the show.
Oh wow! So you were involved right, behind the scenes, in the lead up as well.
Just making it happen for the budget it had, and it was just a really fabulous show. It was, and hopefully there'll be more next year. But
who knows?
I would probably recommend it. It was because it wasn't a loud, raucous show you'd expect. It was a beautiful classical show with some loud parts. So it was excellent. It was excellent.
Oh, cool. It seems like a whole myriad of different projects you've been involved in, and you seem to like a challenge as well, bringing different things together and try, like you say, trying to make it happen. I guess that's come through on the corporate side as well. And I noticed you did an event you did Barefoot Live for the Labour Party as well. And how are the challenges different in that corporate world to your music world, so to speak?
I'd say that the main word I'd use for all of it is mediation. You're almost like a politician. So whether you're doing a monitor engineer where you're sort of ensuring everyone's happy on stage, or if you're a tour manager, ensuring everyone, the performers are happy, or production manager, you're also making sure all your crew are happy and they get there on time. And similar with a corporate point of view, it's a very different atmosphere. You're looking after the clients there rather than musicians, and you're a lot less brash. You can't shout at anyone. You've got to be nice and smiley and happy, and client is boss. I haven't done a major amount of production in the corporate stuff. It's always been sound engineering side of it, and it's just making sure someone's happy with the radio mic you put on them. I've done a bit of stage managing as well, which obviously involves you to wear a suit and smile at people and make sure they're happy and calm down their nerves as they walk on stage. And it is mediation and just being nice, making sure people are okay. And the actual skill of mixing the sound or other sides of it is of equal importance. But I think ensuring someone's happy when they walk on the stage to make sure they perform to their as best as they can is equally important as pushing the microphone up at the right time.
It sounds like personal skills, communication skills and people skills is the word I'm looking for, are essential with that. And without putting too fine a point on it, I can't imagine every sound engineer is best suited to that type of work.
No. I am in the middle of it, of the whole 27 years of my career. I took a project managing job at a Manchester audio company, sound company. And so I was still doing bits and bobs of touring, but I was doing mainly project managing the corporate audio side of events and speccing the gear, doing quotes. And that taught me a lot about looking after people and making sure everybody's happy. that did me in good stead. But I can understand how someone, all they've done is touring for the whole of their career, will call a spade a spade.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah. Some of them are very direct, yeah.
There's no, they don't take any shit. I think you won't last very long if you haven't got a thick skin or can't be brushed back to them. I think it's definitely to go between them all has been I quite enjoy, because it keeps all of them fresh. You don't get stagnated, and I felt at points during my touring career, I have got a bit stagnated now. I have got a bit grumpy, and as soon as I realise that's happening, I have to have a word with myself and say, look, this is all about getting on with people. It's not about having stupid arguments about absolutely nothing. You've got to have a word. And when you're with people for large amounts of times, you're going to fall out with them. It's just life. You do that with your family and your girlfriend and your.
Well, that's it. Yeah, it's a family feel in every sense of the word, isn't it? Because you're in each other's pockets. You're going through a lot of ups and downs together. I remember once I was sat on the South tour a few years ago, and it was going not very well. There was a few incidents. And I said to the monitor engineer, not monitor engineer, guitar tech, sorry, I got on really, really well with. We were sat on the tour bus at the top, and I said, oh, it's not too bad, really, is it, this tour? And he went, are you joking? I'd rather be in Pearl Harbor. So we always call that tour the Pearl Harbor tour when we're talking about it. Or do you remember 2016, the Pearl Harbor tour? Because it can get quite, although it's a really great job, whether you're performing or your crew, it can get quite grim at points, can't it?
No, it can. And I've been incredibly fortunate to work for management that look after you really well, for bands that respect you, and not that I would say in public anyway the ones that have been bad, but no. There's not many bad experiences at all. I think I've had a really fortunate career in that way, and maybe you make your own positiveness in that way, but I've been really lucky. No one's ever thrown a mic stand at me yet.
Yeah, there's always time.
Yes. I'm quite rusty when it gets when this all comes back, so maybe they will.
Yeah. I mean, so it sounds like one of your main pieces of advice is to be personable and to be cooperative. In terms of if you were advising your younger self or somebody just going into it now. Another thing I want to touch on with regards to that is obviously you studied a course, you went to university. A couple of others that I've known have done that. They've either studied a straight degree, if you like, a normal subject, and then gone on to do a sound, audio visual course or whatever it is. And some of them have gone straight to uni and done that. Some have done it later in life. Do you think that education side is vital, or do you think it's more about just learning on the job, just get on with it, or
I think the reason I decided to do the course I did, which was sound and video at Salford Tech, it was called in those days, was because I didn't do very well at my A-levels, and I was already interested in music. I played a bit of guitar. I wasn't a particularly good musician, but I can't remember what I was going to do with my A-levels. I was trying to think about this, but I saw this course in Manchester. It was the first time it had run. I thought, well, why not? I like the city. I like the music from the city. Let's go and do that. And as soon as I started that, I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do now. And it was the first year the course had run. There wasn't that many courses in those days, and it was slightly shambolic. But I met a load of people who love sound, and I did a load of work experience with people that love sound. So it started me up really well. I still did loads of work experience cleaning cables, and I think maybe some of the people nowadays who are going to education, that think they're going to go straight into the top class job mixing. That shows how old I was going to say mixing Bros. Mixing Ed Sheeran, shall I say?
Yeah.
Nowadays that won't happen. You've got to go through the making the tea. You've got to clean the cables, the shit before you. Then you can appreciate and be thankful for the better jobs that you get later on. And then you can show a bit of panache in what you're doing, and people will respect you more. I think, and like any job, it's very quick to rise to the top, but on your way down, no one's going to pick you up. if you've been a bastard to them on the way up.
Absolutely, yeah, no, very true, very true. I mean, I've had friends of mine who aren't in the music business say to me, like, what, you got paid that and you did an hour performance? Like, that's unbelievable. And I think, well, A, that's rare. It's not always like that. And B, I've done all the shitty gigs for literally nothing. I've lost money to do gigs, you know, and I've done my apprenticeship. And I think it's very true, even more true in your side of it, that you've got to serve that apprenticeship.
My first work experience job was a Christian festival at Butlins, and I got £40 for 4 weeks.
Yes, I saw that on the video. Yeah.
£10 a week it was, and I absolutely loved it. And I got, my food was free, and I got a free really bad capping.
Yeah.
And it was minus 20 degrees, but it was just to be doing it. I had my own little venue, and I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was learning by because I had to learn, because otherwise I'd be shouted at. It was brilliant. It was excellent. It was very, very enjoyable. And from then I just did a load of free work for people. I got a loan from the Prince's Trust for £1,500, and I bought some tools and a car, so I could drive to jobs. And I managed to pay it off. I met Prince Charles because they were so thankful. So I paid it off.
So
said, thank you. Thanks very much for paying my loan back. They saw me as a success story because not many people paid the loans back in those days. So
okay.
I went on I think it was called YTS, but it was called the Business Introduction Scheme or something. I got £40 a week to start my business, and I got accountancy courses, and I made use of whatever the government would give me to start up and do stuff for free, because I was living at home for a bit. So it was incredibly enjoyable, and I was very fortunate just to pick up some companies that wanted to give me work after that, and it just word of mouth brought me forward.
I mean, that's an ongoing theme since this is episode 18 of the podcast, and it's an ongoing theme right from the start of when I did it, is that most people in this game, it's all through word of mouth, it's all through relationships, knowing people, recommendation. That's pretty much what they put it down to. There's not any kind of big, like when people ask me about, I want to be younger guys, I want to be a full-time musician, I say, just keep doing stuff.
I can't think of the rock and roll word. The corporate word is networking, I guess.
Networking. Yeah, it is.
It must be a rock and roll word for that, but
yeah.
I guess getting drunk with people.
Yeah. You're right. There's a lot to be said for that, to be fair.
Going to the pub and just having a conversation and getting on with people. Personable.
Yeah, that's right. So lastly, I want to just, if you don't mind, I just want to ask a bit of talking of corporate, I just want to ask a quick question on how you're set up, because some sound engineers I know and tour managers, I get emails from them and their company names on the bottom, and they've got a limited company. And the South tour manager has actually educated me a lot on how to set up as a business in this game, and I've kind of followed his advice. So which way do you play it? Are you sole trader or limited company?
I became a limited company 7 years ago. I became a limited company because there is a slight tax advantage, but it was mainly because I was finding some production companies I work with required me to be a limited company for them to work with them, and they required me to have professional indemnity insurance, and so they wouldn't employ me. Some of the companies, pharmaceutical, computer companies, they wanted to be insured if I'd pressed play on an Apple product and it was a Microsoft conference, and they lost the job because of that, and then they were covered for that. So the main reason was legal. Even my accountant did recommend it anyway, because I think they're going to close that loophole soon, but obviously with what's happened regarding furlough, etc., if I'd been self-employed, I'd been a lot better off, because obviously I pull dividends. I pull a very small salary.
Yeah.
So it's really stuffed me from getting an income during COVID. And not that I mind that that's the way they've decided to do it, but that's why I decided to be a limited company. So I've got a limited company, and I'm furloughed for, I think I get about £525 a month.
Right.
Which is better than nothing, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And so talking of that then, like you said, that's how they decided to do it. I know an equal amount of people in our business who have been screwed by that, like you were just saying, you know, who've got limited companies or they've not been trading long enough self-employed to get any real kind of benefit. But I'm in the camp that has done all right out of that, if I'm honest, because I've got a good sort of few years behind me, self-employed, where the income's gone up and up. So what do you think the future holds in terms of government support or lack of for our industry? And when do you think things could start to resume? Do you think social distancing and gigs can work, or do you think it's just a non-starter?
I'm seeing green shoots at the moment. I can see. I live in the centre of Manchester. We're still locked down a bit more than some parts of the country. I'm still a bit confused about what we can and can't do.
Yeah, same in Leicester as well, where I am. Yeah.
There you go. So people are doing gigs, but they're doing them outside, in back gardens of pubs. There's a few indoor venues we're going to start up with distancing, like Albert Hall is going to start up with distancing. I think once we get out of an individual lockdown, there'll be a lot more promoters trying things on. I noticed Clapham Grand was opening with it in September, October with a fantastic list of artists, and that was really encouraging to me. Yeah, and I feel bad for the audio and lighting and video companies that just do audio, lighting and video, because I don't think many people will be touring this year. In that way, there'll be lots of one-offs with basic production, and I feel that it would be criminal if the government didn't keep on supporting those companies, because the amount of income they're bringing to the taxpayer is immense. It's the sixth biggest industry in the country, and we make events trying to publicise that. There's a lot of people who are changing careers, but a lot of people just can't. They don't have the skills to do anything else. I've been doing this for 28 years, and plus that, if you include when I was at university, and I've got to weeks where I've applied for jobs, driving for Argos and driving for this, or trying to get, and they just don't reply to you because they just know you're going to leave them when they think. They don't see that it's not going to start up till next year. They just see, well, as soon as he gets a better offer, he's going to leave. There's nothing really, unless I look at changing career and doing some training, there's nothing really I can do either. And I'm in a fortunate place that I'd saved up some money for a few years. I've been quite frugal with what I'm doing because I've always been away working. So I'm fortunate, but a lot of my friends aren't fortunate, and they are truly, I just swear, fucked in this situation. And they're doing minimum wage jobs. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But these are highly trained people that have come to have high outgoings because they've worked many years. And I guess similar to people in the travel industry, there are other industries that are similar to the entertainment industry, but we are not allowed at the moment to do our work. Especially personally, for me, my main work is international touring.
So that's completely off the table, isn't it? Yeah,
it is. I have work next March, and if everything happens, I'm busy all next year. Everything is happy and it's good. But at the end of October, if the government doesn't extend furlough, there are going to be multiple companies laying off many people from the audio, lighting, sound, video, staging, trucking, catering. The list is endless of people. It's hundreds of thousands of people that will be being laid off by their companies because they can't afford to keep them because there is no work for these companies. There are zero income businesses.
When you talk about the audio visual companies, though, do you think, because I did a project last week where there was an audio visual company brought in to do it, and it was all for an online festival which was Arts Council funded, and it was then live, well, not actually live streamed, but streamed to YouTube and Facebook, etc. Bands are looking at that a lot more at the minute, doing online stuff. Do you think that market could grow enough that it could replace?
I think it would grow. I think it would grow, and I've been looking into it, looking at systems, chatting to people about it. It could never carry the same amount of people that are involved in the moment because people are multitasking as well in these events to keep the cost down. Everyone's used to paying £8.99 for a Zoom call. No one wants to pay £12,000 for a proper broadcast anymore, they know they can do it for $8.99. So people will get online work. People will develop systems that will be able to do this. Bands require income also, so they'll have to do online stuff if they can't do anything. It will develop.
The main battle, I think, is trying to engage the public with paying for it. Unless you're a massive name, and if you're a massive name, you don't have to do it. If it doesn't happen, a lot of those people, whatever aspect of the industry they're in, they don't need to work. So,
engagement. They've got to engage the fans and make them feel like they're a gig. There's a few systems I've seen recently where that is exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to make the fans part of it, and they're good. I think they will be good, but it's just how long will this last? And I'm hoping like maybe the February the 28th.
Well, just put that date. Just put that date out there.
That's what I'm. I've had a fortunate few weeks, and fortunate week maybe, and.
You're feeling positive.
I'm hoping that I'm feeling positive this week. There's been lots of good news in the last week or so. So I'm feeling that January, February, maybe there'll be some touring happening, and hopefully October, November, December there'll be some socially distant shows around the northwest where I live that I can walk or drive to that will allow me to gain some income
to work a little bit.
Yeah. So I'm only staying flat rather than going down. And I still hope that furlough will be extended. I think the government would be silly not to. That they will cause a recession if they carry on without that. And I understand they won't want to answer it now because everyone will suddenly apply for it. But I think I'm hoping at the end of October, once this all ends, then there will be a positive outcome for the people that require it. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, that's a perfect place to leave it. Thank you so much for your time, Matt. Good to meet you on here. Hopefully we'll work together one day.
Yes, that'd be lovely.
And I'll let you know when this is all out as well.
Thanks very much.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot, mate.
Yes, man.
Thank you so much for joining me for episode 3, season 3 of On the Road With. My guest was the fantastic Mr. Matt Jones. Got so much experience in the industry, so it was really fascinating talking to him, and I'd like to thank him sincerely for his time. If you like what you're hearing, you can subscribe, follow or like us wherever you get your podcast fix. You could also leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. That would be much appreciated. And follow us on social media. It's Gareth John Music on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. And I'll be posting updates about the show, bonus content, etc. on those platforms. I'm now going to play the show out, though, with one of Matt's choices. It's Graham Coxon and Freaking Out. Take care now. Bye-bye.